ice breaking. Okay, so maybe we're now having a break exercise a little bit. Yeah, it's not very hard. It's yeah. Okay, let me going through the center. But before I start, Pasazali are okay. So is it join us later? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So now we have Mark Monica, Tong Chan, Antu, Sharifah, Hongha, and then Sir Lauro. We're going to massage. So let's make a couple. Maybe Sharifah and Mak Monica can do a group, and then Hantu with Tongchan, Hongha and the PA, and then Semaro with PA. Go, you don't have a PA. Do you want to join Ibu Mulani? Me, I will just give you time to exercise the message. So, face to face. Let's say face to face with your partner. Oh, Sharifah, maybe you can do a group with Go because Monica has a VA. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let's face to face with your partner. You can stay, and then if you want to touch your partner face, Sir Lauro, you can do it. You can feel the hands as well. Yes, shake her hands maybe or touch a little bit. Yeah, shaking her hands. Shaking, 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 shaking. Yeah. Shaking, 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 shaking. Shaking hands first. Okay. Give her five, give her five, give her five, 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 give her five, 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 give him five, five, five. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes. And then please give massage to your partner's shoulders. Can you do that? Yes. Yes. Be gentle, be gentle. Don't too hard. Yeah. Enjoy. Please. Make it so slow. So slow. Take your time. Give the moment, yeah. I'll give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes, no problem, 2 minutes. Okay, let's turn back to the other side. Your other partner. Give to the other partner. Yes, yeah. Your other partner. Okay, aha. This is more romantic, yeah. Harder. Okay, that's good. Okay, are you okay now? Getting more energized? Okay, let's start. And then we'll continue to Pak Yosa. Pak Yosa, it's your time. Thank you so much.
All right. So then, after ice breaking, I think you all have more spirit after. Yeah, we will continue our discussion. The last time that we discussed is Cambodia. So now we will continue to other countries, Malaysia and Vietnam. So with the same questions about the policies of climate change that disadvantages of persons with disabilities, and that the organization with concern with persons with disability. You can give input also the organization, potential organization in the future that probably concerned with the person with disability. So before continue to Sazali not here. Maybe we start from Vietnam. In the slide, you can see maybe you can move to organization table. We could, yes. Vika will note the input, the organization from you. So we already have Brunei Darussalam and Cambodia, and not yet from Malaysia, Vietnam, and Singapore. So please, Ms. Hong Ha, to respond about the policy and organization. The time is yours.
Oh, the microphone is soft. Well, thank you, Yasa. In Vietnam, there have been a lot of policies issued by the government on climate change. And climate change can be a very important issue as considered by Vietnamese government. However, there's nothing special about the people with disabilities in those policies. Vietnamese government say that the policies create the equality to all people. So everything is for all. That means including people with disabilities. However, people with disabilities need to have more support from the government in the disasters or in the climate change programs. I think people with disabilities and the OPDs should work more, to make the policies more inclusive. And long ago, in 2014 or 15, I don't remember very well, I was involved in a program run by an NGO named Matiza. Yeah, have you heard about them? They organized the training to people with disabilities, how to teach the local government to help people with disabilities during the disasters and after the disasters as well. Because the disasters came to many parts of the country, and people with disability had to suffer a lot after disaster, during the disaster and after the disaster. So in the program, at the training, people with disabilities was taught how to help the local government to understand the difficulties of people with different types of disabilities, and how to help people with deafness, how to help people with blindness during the disaster and in the emergency cases. And people with disabilities and their organizations should share with the government, local government, how to help and make a map of the location of people with disabilities, and the information given, sharing information in the disasters is very important. And during this training, they train the people with disabilities so that they can be the trainers to the local government, how to help the people with deafness, how to give information to deaf people, and how to help the people in wheelchair to go to a safer place when the disaster comes. So it was a very fruitful, and people with disabilities learned a lot from that, and we were very excited to work with the local governments. But after that, the sustainability, the financial sustainability was not done. So that's why since then, there has no similar programs to be done in Vietnam. And I have worked with the OPDs in the middle part of the country where the disaster came every year. So they said that they haven't had any program like that in Vietnam. So I think in Vietnam the OPDs should work a lot. Yeah, and I hope that ADF can support us or can help us to find the funding for the program. programs of people with disabilities and their organizations to do the similar training like that. And I think if we are supported to work with the local government, it can be, I think, a good future of climate change in Vietnam for OPDs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Oka. So, in Vietnam, you said that climate change is an important issue, but most policy not included person with disabilities. And also, you mentioned that right now, person with disability have less knowledge about climate change, particularly about disaster and risk reduction. You said that many person with disability probably has have as victims of disaster. For example, they don't know what to do when the disaster is come in Vietnam. So, so can we mention in for the Vietnam? There is no policies of climate change with the social inclusion principle. Is that right? Can we say that?
The social organizations, this is not their interest right now.
Mm.
Yeah, and the government has the national strategy on climate change and the action plan on methane emissions reduction. And people with disability can work with the General Department of Irrigation and Water Resources.
Mm.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any projects, any kind of programs to deal with the disasters when it happens. Yeah, and the training I mentioned was working with the General Department of Irrigation and Water Resources. Yeah, but they just came to attend the meeting and no follow-up after that.
Okay. So you mentioned it previously about Vietnamese support for the person with disability issue in terms of climate change, like female organization to give capacity building in terms of climate change, and then support for the local government. Is that right? Yeah.
It's not a female organization; it's an NGO support the OPDs generally, because they consider that the general problems, the common problems, is not the gender problems.
Okay. So if we in line with the Paris Agreement, it will be related with the climate finance in the point 6 of the Paris Agreement. So I will mention it. I will share about the Paris Agreement key points in terms of the climate finance. Okay, so about the organization, you mentioned that NGOs support OPDs in general. Is that right? Yeah. So there is no specific organization in Vietnam concerned with the climate change and social inclusion?
No, not specific. Only from the government, as I mentioned, the general department. It belongs to the government. It be under the irrigation and water department. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's an organization that has a mission to work on climate change. Yeah, but I haven't seen any special program for people with disabilities. Yeah, and they also said that it's inclusive already because it's general. It's the equality for everybody, not no how to say no discrimination of people with disabilities. Yeah, but no specific program. Yeah, to help people with disabilities. I think people with disabilities have faced a lot of difficulties. Yeah, every year. Yeah, so but they see that the inclusion that means equality. Yeah. So
how about the organization concerned with indigenous peoples and youth and women, are they have some disabilities targeted in the climate change issue?
It's not clearly. I haven't been able to take the desk review or the desk review. Yeah, but I see the people with disabilities and their organization now are interested in climate change and have raised a question because DPO Hanoi, OPD Hanoi, has organized the workshops on climate change to raise awareness of the local governments, on the difficulties of people with disabilities in climate change. Yeah, so I think that it will be issues to the government to think of, and I hope so. I hope that the government will get it as a kind of interest in the future. And people with disabilities and their organizations will work on that soon if they have support, they have a funding opportunity.
Okay. So, is there any comment or confirmation to Vietnam from other participants? Laurie or from Hantu? Is there any additional information that you want to say from to Vietnam? Not yet. Are you sleepy, all of you, after lunch? No? Okay, Ibu Palani?
Yeah, not this time.
No.
I'm just curious about. How the governments, because in ASEAN, this issue is quite like this, what is it? Well known. So, if I'm not mistaken, what I catch up is relating to it is really not in the mainstream in the Vietnam, the issue of the climate change, So, what is what do you think about this point of view, from the government point of view or government actions relating to this kind of situations?
The Vietnamese government created a lot of documents, a lot of laws, and a lot of policies in climate change.
Oh,
and
okay.
climate change is a very big issue. But
I
they say that if they don't mention any discrimination in that, it's inclusive already.
I see.
Yeah, and it depends on each local government. If they have the capacity to help people with disabilities, because people with disabilities has lost their jobs, has lost their houses after the disaster, and the local government helped them the same as the other people. So that's why they think it's inclusive already.
Oh, I see. This
That's the point of view.
Point of
the
view,
government.
In terms of point of view, that what is the inclusion?
That's inclusive already.
Inclusive.
Because no discrimination.
We are inclusive already, but there is no action plan. In particular for how the program should involve or taking account, such as like Mapodika saying, what is the strategy,
And the NGO didn't share much the point of view of the government. They wanted the action, concrete action to help each people with each type of disability. But their program is too short and too small, so it cannot be developed. As a kind of raising awareness to the government also.
So, from your point of view, what is the challenges when when you saw the governments and CSOs, even they talk about the inclusion, but we cannot see what is the inclusion interpret into the policy, something like that. So because if you think that it cannot be implemented, means they don't have any strategy inside of the policies, something like that. This is my understanding. Because we found out in Indonesia as well that talking about this. It's already inclusion, inclusive program, anything, but they cannot interpret it into the practical issues inside of the design, something like that. So because in Indonesia usually they don't know how to approach, how to make it as implemented, as changing the mindset, something like that. So what kind of accessibility that have to be provided, something like that. So it is for us, we saw this from the perspective of less information to them on disability issue or perspective or interaction, something like that.
In my point of view, I think that we should raise awareness among people with disability first, and let them see that their participation is very important. And we need the participation of people with disabilities and the OPDs, to together with the NGOs, to ask the government more attention on that to people with disabilities. And I think CSO, NGOs, and OPDs should make a kind of alliance, coalition, so that we can ask the more interest from the government on that. And I think when people with disabilities are strong, and when the NGOs and the government open the opportunity for funding, I think the people with disability can be involved and can be the one of the stakeholders, to work on the action plans and things like that. I think that the most important is a funding opportunity. So people with disability, I believe that they know how to do and what to do. But funding resources are very important.
I think still this issue is very interesting to discuss. Well, chicken and egg. When we are talking about chicken and egg. So if we are not given the opportunity first, and then everybody says that the organization of person with disability, the community of person with disability know nothing. They don't even know how to treat themselves, or how to build the capacity for others about them. So where should we start?
So that's why I mentioned the training that I said to you. So training the people with disabilities to participate and to raise awareness, to the local government, how to help the people with disabilities. That's very important.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, sure. So
the most important unit is the family. Because when the family is strong, members, whether with disability or without disability, are equally treated in the family. Now, how is the government supporting the family structure?
Thank you, Laura, for the very good remind. And the Vietnamese government is very interested in helping the family to help the people with disabilities, and they usually, after the disaster, if the family of the people with disabilities has some loss, the government, the local government always, help support the family, and ask the family and show the family members how to help people with disabilities. But raising capacity building for people with disabilities themselves is not very, how to say, much interested by the government.
Because they don't know how to.
They don't know how to. That's why the NGO train the people with disabilities to train the government. How to. Okay.
I'm thinking of. I would like to share. I mean, a very simple activities that we try to elaborate on from people who cannot give anything to the government, to the society. Two, then this group respectfully, acknowledged by the government. The movement or the action we call disability perspective and interaction training. So we just train people, like we come to the something like this, a forum, and then we introduce on how people should interact with us. This is, the simple, I think the simple, and then what is the pleasure, the capacity that we have. Because, for instance, I'm a person with physical disabilities. I know from my life experience on how I can get involved with others, or how people have, when they would like to interact with me, so how I know how they have to do something like that. So this kind of very simple activities that we do. We started with the local governments of Jakarta, for instance. But now this kind of training is very well known within the local government. Sometimes we thought that we thought too high to others people. But in the fact, what we got from this kind of training, we can see that they don't know anything about us, even how to interact with, for instance, with the blind, with the deaf, and then what is the simplest thing, and then they can make a program from this kind of approaching. So this is because if we always say to government that you have to build our capacity because we don't know nothing. We don't know anything about us. So even if we say that we don't know about ourselves, how can other people know about ourselves? I think that's the homework of the OPDs.
Okay, that's right. So the training that I mentioned did all that. They raise awareness and they train people with disabilities how to share with the local government about their disabilities and the difficulties, specific difficulties, of people with deafness, of people with blindness, and how to give information and to do in the emergency case, how to get people with deafness to know the disaster is coming. So, for example, it's not a speaker to people with deafness, but it's some sign and something to send to some people, to inform them. And if it's in the dangerous situation, how to move people in wheelchair. What the difficulties of people with wheelchair in emergency case? Yeah, that's a
I see.
training that I mentioned. And I hope that the training will be developed. Yeah. In the parts where people have to suffer from the disasters.
It is us who train them, not them to train us.
Train us all first, and then you train them.
It is, we have to train them.
Yeah, we have to train them. But diplomatically, we should not say to train the Japanese. Yeah, we have to be careful with the terminology.
Yeah, we have
To share, we say that to share experience.
share experience.
Helping people with disabilities, not to
Yeah.
train. Yeah.
But in Jakarta now it becomes a curriculum of the training for the government officer. Government officer training, they put it into curriculums for the government officers. I mean, the new government officers training developments. It's very easy for us. It's very easy.
Very
Such as
easy.
like
Yeah.
Lauro telling
Just the
about.
funding for the training. We can do that well.
Okay. So yeah, it is not what happened in Jakarta. It is not. There is no funding. It's just they just
Yeah.
invite us to train the people, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe this is the maybe just sharing exchange information.
Sharing with us. We may not need the funding too
Yeah.
much, but sharing with the government, getting them to come and learn from us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We can, if we find out they have their program, they have their event, we just come to them and then I would like to introduce myself about us to your forum. That's all. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it's interesting issue Ibu Maulani have. It's kind of like the local government or government need like soft skill training from soft skill training, how
Soft skill,
to interact, how to approach
Yeah.
person with disability, something like that.
Because from there, they can elaborate their mind on okay, then the approach like this, so we have to have kind of policy like that, something.
Okay. So thank you for that's important issue actually that maybe we can put on the recommendation. Yeah.
Sorry, Lisa, can I add in something?
Training. Okay, sure. Please.
Because you were speaking about the training, right? From the PWDs have to give the training to the government, and it starts with government interest. So this is actually something I just shared recently with Pak Shali about what Brunei's private sector has actually done. We have a very large oil and gas industry, as you all know. It's very quite big. So we actually have a company called Brunei Liquefied Natural Gas, BLNG, Brunei LNG. They're a local company, 80% run by Bruneians, and one of the persons who works in external affairs has actually created a program in their company called Employability, where they have employed PWDs from various NGOs, and actually, funnily enough, Brunei LNG is actually moving towards sustainable and they take climate change very, very seriously, because they actually do tree planting every 3 months within the community. So one thing that they have done as a step forward was hire 5 different NGOs to give sensitivity training. They hired 3 people who are deaf and had trained 8,000 of the people's company with sign language courses for 5 days. And they're the first ever Bruneian company to do this. So when they started doing that, because this private sector is a very big one in Brunei, the government then paid attention to us, asking for sensitivity training, wheelchair training, asking us for how to, sensitivity guidelines, how to interact with people, and then it kind of created a ripple effect. So I don't know if that would help you, Hong Ha, to target one company this is something similar that's happening in Singapore with UOB, a bank who helped with enabling village in Singapore. They help with the funding and the grant, and so they started off with a private sector. So once the private sector became prominent to helping people with PWDs, then the government wanted to follow suit. So I don't know if that's a good suggestion. Maybe you can try to engage with private sectors, especially in this, to provide you funding with that.
I think that getting the companies or the enterprises, to be interested in that, I think it's not easy in Vietnam, because the enterprises and the and the companies are interested in helping single cases, to overcome the difficulties. It's a kind of advertisement for them, But if we say about capacity building, about the training for to the OPDs and things like that, yes, or COT or things, they are not interested. No, they don't see the benefit. I think they will have the benefit in the future, but they are not aware of that. That's the question. So only the cases, to help a single person from they did not have anything until they have university degrees, until they have employment. It's okay. Yeah. Okay.
So thank you, Ms. Ariswan, for experience and suggestion about the training for the companies. Maybe we can make like example to train for the local government in the future. So is there any other issues from you to Vietnam? So actually, in our report, a draft report for the climate change, Vietnam enriched with the disasters policies, and the policy already mentioned about gender empowerment in the relocation of disaster as well, but not mentioned about the person with disability actually. So this is the evidence that the policy not a part of or side of the person with disability.
It's included. The disability is included already.
It's already included.
Okay, thank you. So next, we will move to Mr. Sazali from Malaysia. Again, the question is about the policies of climate change, disadvantages to person with disability, and the organization of person with disability which concern with the climate change. Please, the mic is yours.
So we are talking about climate change, right? Sorry, I'm a bit lost just now because I was in earlier, then I had to run up because I got stomach in just now. So we're still talking about climate change. Okay, so as far as I remember, the topic of climate change was something that is very new in Malaysia. I mean, way before this, so everyone was talking about climate change. And the last time I think we talked about this is after the Sendai Framework of Action, where it first came out about climate change and brought back to Malaysia for everyone to discuss all the issues and all that. It was of course very hot for a while, the issue of climate change, but then it just goes silent until I think ADF kind of like have a online suggestion about this research on climate change. It was only then I was like, okay, fine. I think Malaysia had a lot of things that need to be done, and the impact so far was very, very limited. Because I think, from Malaysia perspective, we are more like I mean, the topic of climate change for people with disabilities is not there. Because even among the people with the disabilities ourselves in Malaysia, they thought that the Disability Act in Malaysia is a toothless act. It's a toothless tiger, that it had no impact at all. So what we done after that is like there's a white paper on the under the Ministry of Health that asks us to give feedback on issues related to people with disabilities. So one of the things that we did is under the health section is to include all the information's input about the needs of people with disabilities, but that is on health on medical issues. But then again, the climate change itself, or this issue is not widely discussed, and it was more of like employment, it was more of like education, but specifically on climate change, I would say very, very limited. But if you want to talk about policies, acts or rules and regulations, I think there's one time where East Coast, near Medan, that area, when it was first hit by tsunami, it was only then we start, I think, and how it actually impacts the people with disabilities who's living at the East Coast, how their house was all, damaged, there's life loss among, I think, very few people among the people with disabilities. It was only then that, they started to we're talking about it, but it's still very, very minimum. So when the tsunami hits, with the weather itself, so how it affects their livelihood. And those people who are living at that area, the affected area, only after that they were like, okay, we need to do something. We need to have something about climate change, or association on climate change and everything. Only then we start to get input, informations. And so what happens is like those who are affected, government will obviously will assist them and help them. Like for example, those boats which are damaged during the disaster, the government will help them by fixing it or buying a new one. But then again, it will need people from outside to actually inform them about this, how this disaster happened, and how we can actually talk about climate change that affects those areas and the disaster that. But then again, the political situation is very much different in Malaysia. You have to go through the member of parliaments. You have to go through people who are in politics or in power. Only then they were like, okay, we will pass to the federal government, and for the federal government to take action. But this is not very much of a bureaucracy, but it's just that for things to move on or action to be taken, it takes such a long time. And actually, under the Federal Constitution of Malaysia laws, it says that every citizen has equal rights. But then again, where is the equal rights for us, people with disabilities? Because when you say equal rights, means we should be, and we shall be included. We shall be given the equal access, just like any other citizen. But I do agree that we need to talk more about climate change among the people with disabilities, among the people, the citizens, the government agencies, and I also like to encourage that we talk about this topic more. And when it comes to like disaster-related situations, but in Malaysia we don't really have other natural disasters that is bad. Means except for floods. But then again, after floods we have lots of help, by the citizen, by the neighbors, NGOs, and government. So it's not that bad situation after that, because government had already had a certain fund to assist and people to assist us. So even like things happen among the deaf community, let's say their house was flooded and all that, the organization of the deaf, they will always help. Even their friends will come and help them to clean the house, get some support and sponsor for them, or for all the items that is damaged during the flood. So assistance is there, now help is already there. And NGOs that is handling all this is there and provide us help. But I think what's most important is among the people with disabilities themselves. Because when you talk about necessity food, they will give to everyone who's affected. But it's just that if you give them, like, let's say rice, for them to cook, but where the equipment is not there. I mean, they can give us bread, sugar, milk, everything. But if the equipment is not there, tools is not there, then it's not possible. So if they are looking for a place to sleep and all that, when flood happens, normally they will have to go to a relief center. But the thing is, like, sometimes the relief center is so crowded. Sometimes, and all these things like blanket or pillows is not provided that early. Obviously, they all feel very not comfortable because everyone will have to sleep in a tent. So that is put under the hall or the classroom of schools that is being used as relief center. So things like this happen even though help is there, but I think it's still insufficient in a way. But everything is very much provided for. The only thing is time. And how pre-disasters happen, how do we know what's things going on, especially for the deaf community. Sometimes when flood happens, we do not know what happened because all this announcement was made via the radio or even television or even through information from other people, but sometimes it just not goes to us directly, so we still have to rely on the information. But I think one good thing is like about what we have done in Malaysia is sorry, I think I talked too much. So I think it's good that we from different ASEAN countries, we share our knowledge, we share our experience, and I think it's one of the good things is how all this information, pre-disaster information, during disaster, and also after disaster, how do we actually convey all this information, where to get help, how to get help, and assistance and all that. I think it's good that we all share the best practices that we have in our respective countries. And I think it's also a time that maybe ADF can take a lead on this. We can help one another on disaster area. Okay, I think it's sufficient.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sazali. Actually, from our assessor for Malaysia, we already got many policies, Malaysian policy on climate change. So, like in our draft report, person with disability already mentioned it in the policies, like in the risk, in the disaster and risk reduction, and other policies concerning in the disaster issues. You already have a national strategy as well in terms of the climate change and the government as a lead of the climate change policy. So actually we already have an organization as well in Malaysia concerning with the climate change, but targeted to youth, person with disability with youth with person with disabilities. So the name of organization is Bhakti Mind. Have you know that organization?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the website of Bhakti Mind, we can see some of the knowledge sharing knowledge about the climate change issue, what kind of the concept of climate change, but they are targeted to youth with the person with disabilities. So, is there any other organization of the person with disabilities also focus on climate change?
Okay. First of all, thank you very much. That amazing, you found a lot of things about Malaysia. The things that I miss myself. I also learned from what you get from the reports. And on the question about organizations, and the one that you mentioned, Bhakti Mind, yes. Bhakti Mind is an organization that always conduct programs and activities for a lot of NGOs, but a NGO per se that is really focusing on climate change or for people with disabilities, there's none actually. Bhakti Mind is a large organization that compasses with many NGOs that is affiliated to them, but not specifically for people with disabilities.
Okay. So, how about the organization, indigenous people organization who concern with the person with disability issue, particularly in the climate change? Because in Malaysia, if we compare with Indonesia, we also have the indigenous people in the Borneo, for example. So I guess that you also have like the organization with indigenous people organization as well.
Okay. With regards to indigenous people, they don't have a specific one for the people with disabilities, but we do have an office for the indigenous people, which is directly under the Prime Minister office. So anything regards with indigenous people, they can actually give the input to this office, and they will pass on directly to the Prime Minister to make decisions. So they are very lucky in that sense, even though it's not focusing on people with disabilities, but for indigenous people in general. But it's a good question that maybe I have to go back and contact that particular office if they have a section for people with disabilities, because that office itself is like anything about indigenous people, they can just go there and report or to give or provide input. But I don't really have the data for now. I can actually get the data from the office and contact them directly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. As for additional information, the last time that I have a meeting, I have a meet with Suhakam, like Human Rights National Commission of Malaysia. They invited indigenous people organization, but I forgot the names of organization. Maybe you can identify later and give me the names of organization. This is important because Borneo Island is a priority for the green policy, same as in Indonesia. I think we have a collaborative program on the climate change in terms of how to decrease the carbon issue. Okay. Okay. Now, Laura, you right hand, please. The mic.
The major issues that we have to really look at is there is a saying that if you destroy your environment will destroy you. So I think that is one of the error of humanity. The reason why we have issue of climate change because we did not take care of our environment. And now our the issue of climate change. Why do we have that issue? There is a serious change in the climate because we did not take care of our environment. Now, what is the role of persons with disability, especially the OPDs, so that I think it is not yet too late for us to be participate in taking care of the remaining natural resources in the land, in the mountains, in the seas, in our rivers. I remember one of the speakers who I heard, one of the best tools that really takes care of the environment are the indigenous people. Because they live in the mountains, they live in the areas where there are still remaining good environment. Now, we OPDs, we have powers to persuade our government, and perhaps in so many ways we can participate. So I want to bring up that issue. How do our OPDs help in taking care of the remaining environment so that climate change will not get worse?
Yes. Thank you, Laure. So yeah, why organization of indigenous people should be a part of our study? As you know that most of them live in the forest, for example. They live in the mountain. They have local wisdom how to treat the environment. So that's why if we put the organization of indigenous people in our report study, we hope that the person with disabilities as a part of indigenous people also have the climate change mind. They can treat environment as well, and this is very important because person with disabilities in the in all of the group of community like the indigenous people. So in the Paris Agreement also mentioning about the importance of indigenous people. So but they already well known and give the like a fund to some of organization of indigenous people in some countries. For Indonesia, there are some indigenous people organizations. They have programs in climate change, and also in other countries in Southeast Asia. They already moved then the person with disability organization. So we hope that in the future DPOs also a priority from the climate change government policy from its country, like the indigenous people organization, that they already exist and have a climate change program. So thank you for Laura that actually you make strengthening the importance of organization of indigenous people in our study. Okay, is there any other issue that we can raise to specifically to Malaysia, Sazali? Ibu Maulani? No? Maulani. So we already discussion from its countries, from Vietnam, Malaysia, Philippines, Myanmar, Laos, and Cambodia. but not yet for and Brunei as well, not yet for Singapore and Thai. So how about that for two countries, Bang Olan? Tomorrow you still have a time for that?
I think so, maybe individual.
Individual interview, something like that, yeah. Yeah, actually we still need some additional information from Thai and Singapore. So maybe tomorrow we still have the time to discuss with them. So before we discuss about the recommendation of our report, actually I already make a note for the recommendation. I will share about what is the Paris Agreement actually, because from early morning I mentioned it about the Paris Agreement. But I believe that some of you already know about what is the Paris Agreement. So I hope we can share the PPT. I already shared the PPT too. Just 10 minutes, what is the Paris Agreement? Page 5. Yes. Thank you. So in the front of you, there is a slide. The title is about Paris Agreement. So this agreement is a legally binding international treaty. It entered into force on November 4, 2016. Sorry. So the agreement is again this agreement is legally binding international treaty, and it entered into force on November 4, 2016. Today there are 195 parties, 194 states plus the European Union that joined the Paris Agreement. So included the Southeast Asia country in here. So why this is important to share to you? Because we will make a recommendation after this. So the recommendation of our research report probably get an idea after we know what kind of the Paris Agreement. So Paris Agreement is like I said, the legally binding or internationally treaty from the UN. So the agreement includes commitment from all countries to reduce their emission and work together to adapt to the impact of climate change, and calls on countries to strengthen their commitment over time. And the agreement provides a pathway for developed nations to assist developing nations in their climate mitigation adaptation effort, while creating a framework for the transparent monitoring and reporting of countries' climate goals. Every 5 years, each country is expected to submit an updated National Climate Action Plan known as NDC. I mentioned it before, Nationally Determined Contribution. So like I said, that only some of countries in Southeast Asia mentioned it, person with disabilities group in the NDC, only 3 countries. In their NDCs, country communicate action they will take to reduce their greenhouse gas emission in order to reach that goals of the Paris Agreement. So for the recommendation, probably you can get idea what kind of the mitigation and adaptation policy in your countries, particularly when in line with the person with disabilities issue. So is there any mitigation and adaptation policy, this act packages for the person with disability? So we need information from you. So there are 7 key points that could help for better understanding of the agreement. The one is the 2 degrees Celsius goal. So we hope all of the countries should decrease the temperatures to become 2 degrees Celsius. And then we hope get the information and data bottom up. So NDC actually is the bottom up document because we get the data from its countries. And also the Paris Agreement have encourage to encourage mitigation policy and connecting with the carbon markets. And we also, in the Paris Agreement, also push for adaptation and loss and damage policy. We already know that, like Philippines focus on the loss and damage policy for the climate change. Paris Agreement also focused on the REDD plus, REDD plus. And then Paris Agreement encourage for the developed country to give finance to developing country. This is the point 6 of Paris Agreement. So in this Paris Agreement title called climate finance. So the number 6 is climate finance. So that's why in the early morning I mentioned it that this is the important issue if we want to create a program of climate change concerned with the person with disability. Maybe we can like meeting with the funding agency, but we also need to share the sensitivity of person with disability for stakeholders like the government as well. So not only about how to give the money, but also to give them the understanding of person with disability sensitivity. And the 7 issues is about the training and the capacity building for the participant of countries. So based on the COP 28, Professor Sebastian Jodin from Canada McGill mentioned that only 35 countries of 192 countries included with friends of people with disability. So only about 15% of countries mention it about the person with disability. The rest of the number, they're not mentioning about the person with disability. So what does it mean about this? It means almost in global, person with disability is also not concerned by several countries. So only 35 countries mention it about the person with disability issue in the climate change policy. So this is the hard homework for ASEAN Disability Forum as well, to encourage for all of the ASEAN countries to encourage the climate change policy with the social inclusion principle. So that's all for the Paris Agreement. Is there any additional information about Paris Agreement or other issues? Yeah, Ibu Maulani. Yes, is there any other additional information or confirmation and clarification? Yes, Laura, please.
We have been explaining about natural system by which organizations of persons with disability who really participate. The problem that I was hearing is that there are very few OPDs, organizations of persons with disabilities, are expressing interest to actively participate. In relation to this, I would like to really encourage our member organization in the ASEAN Disability Forum that this is a perfect time for ADF to pass a resolution participate and to encourage member organizations in our member countries so that the talents, the interests of OPDs will be harnessed so that we who are persons with disability could be seen as meaningfully aware and meaningfully participating in this vital issue of climate change. I think disability is never a prohibition, it is never a restriction, it is never a hindrance to participate in this probably the most important issue of the world, which is climate change. In relation to this, I would like to really ask our participating organization that before we conclude the current conference, we will pass a resolution addressed to the United Nations, addressed to the ASEAN master plan, and to those countries, unfortunately only 25 of them, but we can really encourage those 25 to increase. So I think ADM, with the current conference here in Indonesia, we could make a strong statement of our willingness to participate in this most vital issue that could even mean the survival of humanity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Laura. So now we move to recommendation actually. Laura already mentioned about the importance of ADF to support, to encourage climate change policy to be with the social inclusion principle, and also Laurie mentioned about encouraging to ASEAN's master plan to encouraging strengthening to ASEAN master plan to concern with the social inclusion principle on the climate change. There are two important issues as a recommendation from the Laurie. Maybe the recommendation not to only to ADF, also to ASEAN Secretariat, yeah? Because we need not only person with disability organization, but also the ASEAN community also concern the importance of social inclusion principle in the climate change policy in each country. So actually, can we move to recommendation of our activity? Maybe we could can help to make note in the slide. From in the morning until now, there are some point of recommendation. First, in the report of the NDC in the future, probably we not only mention vulnerable groups, but should be specific mention person with disability too. So what do you think about this recommendation? Because the next 5 years, all countries should be give the report to the climate change conference. So I already mentioned that only 3 countries mention person with disability. Some of them mention it vulnerable group. So our recommendation is, how about in the future, in the NDC, the next NDC, each country report the NDC with a specific group person with disability. So yeah, Laura, please.
During our meeting in Thailand, the primary reason why I was really moving that we look at our fellows with disability in remote and rural areas, because these are our fellows who can really participate. They are, as you know, the issue on environment, the solution of the issue is the participation of everyone, especially those in the rural and remote areas. As the World Bank declares, the World Bank is very clear that the remaining areas by which we can improve our movement for climate change rehabilitation is in the rural and remote areas. I think we can all agree on that. Because the remaining forest covers, the remaining areas which may remain untouched by human degradation of the environment are those rural and remote areas. On this matter, I wish ADM at this time would realize the value of looking at and actively getting the participation of our fellows and the families of our fellows in the rural and remote areas. I am really very happy that we are discussing it now. How I wish it was discussed earlier, but today is not yet too late. This time, it is probably one of the best resolutions and recommendations that we can submit to the ASEAN and also to the United Nations. They would realize the value of the ASEAN Disability Forum if at this time we will pass a strong resolution in support of taking care of our environment and allowing and empowering our fellows in the rural and remote areas to participate. I so move, Madam President.
Okay, thank you, Laura. So for the first recommendation, like Laura mentioned that when we want to include person with disability in terms of the report, I mean the NDC report, that should be covering they are in the rural and the urban areas as well. So if we agree, maybe we can put like, okay, it's okay if we put a vulnerable group, but we make like example like a person with disabilities and women and elderly and children, because in some of country, if not mentioning specifically, there will be different meaning of the vulnerable groups. Probably they're not attention to the person with disability. Yes, Ms. Sariko.
Sorry, so I think the recommendation where their first article was defining what is disability. So in this case, defining what disability is, and that if it's put in marginalized or vulnerable groups, it should actually mention specifically persons with disability in rural areas, persons with disability of different indigenous or ethnic backgrounds. So that's how I think the recommendation would be better, in the sense of if we want to make it universal, especially if we want to give this to the United Nations, we should also follow how the CRPD has been listed out. When they started off with the very first article of CRPD, different sub-articles of what they define to be disabilities. So it will be inclusive for everyone, diverse for everyone, and equitable for everyone. I think if that's an okay recommendation.
Yes. Yeah. Good suggestion. Yeah, Laureate, please.
I think if we look at Article 1 of the CRPD, the reason why we are disabled, it is not because we cannot do anything. It is because we are prevented from participation. So, in support of our fellow, Cora, may I add that we emphasize the fact that the very reason why we cannot participate, it is not because we are disabled. It is because we are prevented from participation. And I would like to add that as a recommendation with the recommendation of our fellow from Vietnam.
Yes. So, thank you, Laura. So it means that you made strengthening from the Ms. Sariva that very important to mention person with disabilities, specifically mentioning in the NDC. Even they mentioned the vulnerable groups. So specifically, they mentioned about what kind of the groups, like the women, elderly, and person with disability, something like that. So this is in line with the CRPD that already mentioned about this. So Sazali, you want to say something?
No.
Oh, no, okay. So if we agree for the first recommendation.
Sorry, yes, yeah. No, I just would like to ask, because if let's say we agree with what's been mentioned, for example, like the Paris Agreement, we also need to find out what is the agreement about each specific countries, because we do not want that whatever we are recommending right now is not in line with our own government's recommendations or kind of actions. Because like what I've seen and just now, in Malaysia, we right now we are very much on manufacturing area, especially employment for people with disabilities. In let's say, because in Malaysia right now we have a lot of factories doing or making aircons. Okay, we know aircons is one of the contributors to the gas emission. But if let's say we have to close down all these factories, or or to reduce it, it will also impact the employment for people with disabilities. So some of the things that we need to find out as well from our respective countries, what are the things that we have done or we had not done when we signed the Paris Agreement. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly mentioning about the context of the country have a different, like cultural about the bureaucrats as well. So that it will depend on the country context when we mention it about the some disabilities or the vulnerable groups. Actually, for some country, they mention only vulnerable group, not specific. But the problem, maybe the issue is how to put the specific person with disability in the NDC. So if the DPO is not a part of the policy making, it's very hard. We cannot share our idea when we want to please specific right on the NDC report person with disabilities. So this is the challenge actually. The challenge for us how to include or participate in the policy making when the government drafting the NDC report. So in Indonesia, actually, we have a struggle to be a part of the meeting. So that's why many issues of personal disability and climate change is not part of our NDC. Even the name is differently abilities, not personal disability. So this is the why that they're not included the personal disability organization. Okay, we can move to the second recommendation. In the morning, we agree that all of the climate change policies should be in line with the CRPD. So this is no doubt. We all agree with this, isn't it? So because in the CRPD already mentioned about the disaster and risk reduction as well. So even not mentioned about climate change specifically, but this issue is a part of the climate change. So I think we all agree that all the government or respective country in the Southeast Asia should be in line with the CRPD. So how to encourage our awareness to the government to understanding about the CRPD? This is one other challenge for us to share knowledge. Or Maulani said that which one chicken or egg first. So we can start with the high level meeting with the government to make them understanding about the CRPD and the content of CRPD. So I hope all of you agree about the second recommendation that we can put in the recommendation all of the climate change policy from each country supposed to be in line with the CRPD. And then the third one is about the meaningful participation of persons with disability. So we want in the draft of the study to develop understanding and opportunity for the persons with disabilities to acknowledge climate change issues. So if we want to develop the knowledge and the opportunity, we need to collaborate with other organizations or funding agency. So the third issue is about how to engage the funding agency to support persons with disability organization to develop understanding and opportunity in terms of the climate change issue. So is there any issue about this? Yes, Laurie?
In relation to the third recommendation, I don't know whether it is already appropriate if we mention how many are persons with disability in the human resource student. According to the World Bank also, 10% or even more, 10% or even more of the population in the world are persons with disability. So when we prevent 700 billion people to participate, that is a big mistake. So may I propose that we mention that number, that if there are 7 billion human beings today, at least 10% of that are persons with disability. If we continue preventing persons with disability to participate in taking care of our environment, we are missing a lot. 700 million or more, perhaps, those invisible disability, we may reach up to 1 billion. So if we can mention that number in our resolution and recommendation.
So, Lauren, can I ask something? What do you mean about the number of the person with disability in terms of our recommendation, the flow of the understanding of knowledge climate change?
Yes, actually, I am just informed that according to the latest data, there are 8 billion people living now. So 10% of which, and there are some data that more than 10% of persons with disability. So this important sector, although we call them, I think it is unfair that we are called vulnerable, and when you say vulnerable, it is almost saying this group of people are useless. But actually, 10% of 8 billion is 800 million. If only you capacitate them, just make them able to inspire, to remember they have families. And for in many families, persons with disabilities are among their inspiration. So inspiration itself is most valuable in doing a movement that will benefit humanity. So I really want to, if we could mention that number and then look at the data of the World Bank and the United Nations and highlight in our resolution what humanity is missing by being discriminatory against persons with disability. Just imagine 800 million are being disallowed to participate because of discrimination. So I think we have to emphasize the imperative of empowering our community in the whole world.
Yes, sir, can I just...
Sure. So, Ibu Maulana.
So I totally agree with in what Laura would like to bring up the terminologies to show us as person with disability. It is not about the vulnerables. It is not about the marginalized, but they are not taking account. They are not counting on us in every whatever the policy. Moreover, human rights, the protections, and then we are discriminated by this situation, something like that. So do not put us more lower and lower by using this kind of marginalized and vulnerables. But that is why I also support the terminology that Sharifa just says, that it is person with disabilities in this kind of situation, person with disabilities in that kind of situation, something like that. So we yeah, we claim our rights to be counted as others, something like that. So do not put us as people who are vulnerable anymore. So I really learning from all of your input in here. So because when we talk about the climate change, you said that in the Paris Agreement, Yosa, it has to be not differentiate level of the community, because every person is can be the affected, but as well they can be an actor. Can be the actor, and then anything is relating to the what will be happen with this world. Yeah. So let's using the terminology who are show that we are similar to others, and then they have to also count us into all of their planning and policy. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ibu Maulani and Laura. So we have to have the same concept and perspective of person with disabilities. If we still stuck as the what we call that vulnerable or the victim or marginalized group, it's like as an object, not in the policies. So if we can, it is possible in this moment in the climate change recommendation policy of our study to make person with disability as a subject as well, because they are a part of the community. They also like other persons or people as a policy makers. Yeah, not only thinking that person with disability as a victims of the disaster, as the impact of the climate change, for example. So this is very important issue to rethinking again about our concept of person with disability in terms of climate change. Even we have a twin track policy in the person with disability issues. Yes, Ms. Sarima.
Sorry, because when I mentioned the definitions, it was also going back to how we were talking about most majority of governments do not have a working committee, but do not engage with persons with disabilities as part of that working committee. So to put the definitions there of PWD in these aspects, and removing the word vulnerable and marginalized, just putting them as people, this also helps with encouraging them to ensure that a person, PWDs are included in the working committee. So we have to make that as part of the,
we have to make that as part of the recommendations as well, that following the CRPD, full participation and going back to ADF's nothing about us without us. So we have to actually continuously put that as well in definitions and make it clear as following the structure of the CRPD. Since majority of ASEAN countries, I believe all ASEAN countries, have rectified the CRPD. So I think that's the, going back to your third point, first point, yeah, which is that we will follow the CRPD as a supporting document for this research on climate change.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sarima, to make strengthening our first recommendation. So we could, maybe you can change a little bit about the first recommendation. We supposed to be in line with the CRPD mentioned about person with disabilities. So this is very important we agree that person with disability as a subject as well in the term of the climate change policies. Thank you. So we move to the last three recommendations from our discussion. The number 4 is we encourage or impose person with disability to participation in the policy making. So actually this is a part of the 1 until 3 recommendation as well. The key of the 1 until 3 is the meaningful participation. Yes, please.
Also MNE mechanism. MNE mechanism.
Monitoring and evaluation.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Hantu suggests to put also not only meaningful participation, also participation in the monitoring and evaluation of the policies. Yeah, it is very important issue as well. So the next, if we all agree about this, I think all no doubt for the meaningful participation in the policy of the person with disabilities. Number 5 for the recommendation is we encourage for each country to encourage a social protection program, particularly in terms of the climate change impacts. Like in Indonesia, for example, I compare with Indonesia because my country, we have a social protection program for the disaster management, for example. So, but we still have struggle to implement the policy because not all of the person with disability included the program. So the recommendation is decide to encourage the social protection program in terms of climate change, implementing included the person with disability as a target of the programs. So is there any issues about the social protection? Some of policymakers still thinking social protection like a charity program. So this is not a part of social protection because social protection to strengthening about the empowerment of person or people. So that's why we have to make like concept again about the social protection in some country like in Indonesia, not only charity, something like that, but also how to develop the person with disability in terms of the empowerment of people. Oh, Laura, please. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we can use other more powerful words than the word encourage. Instead of encourage, why don't we ask government and the United Nations to acknowledge our values, to acknowledge and recognize our powerful participation. Because if we listen to encourage, they will be the one who will decide on that. To us, they are not encouraged. Could we use those as global words to acknowledge and recognize the value of the participation of persons with disability in the whole world? I think that is a more powerful. Acknowledging, recognition, and empowerment of persons with disability.
So once again, to acknowledge, recognizing,
Acknowledge and recognize.
acknowledge and recognize all person with disabilities. So there is no social protection mentioned in this recommendation. Yeah.
I think if I may give my
Yeah, please.
my self opinions. There will be others levels when we are talking about the how to implement YOSA. So for this level, we are talking about the we are talking about the equality of us inside of the policy or program of the climate change itself. Maybe let's stay there, and then maybe next time we can talk about how is the strategy, how is the action plans relating to show that you are now taking account of persons with disabilities. So my opinion is it is better not to come into the social protection issue. It is better to stay in the policy in the policy, and to show that they are not taking account yet for the issue. They are not mentioned about the CRPD perspective. There's CRPD concepts, the CRPD background in their policy, something like that. So let's make them clearly relating to the policy first, something like that, and then the approaches, yeah. So maybe after that we will packing the social protection when we are talking about the how to implement, how to respect, how to respect in the action of respecting the right of person with disability. There are a lot of action that have to be done, including social protection. But now, my suggestion is just leave it for the all of the word of encouragement, something like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Ibu Maulana. So when we mention about the government acknowledged person disability, it will cover all of the policy and not only social protection.
Yes.
Because this is like the umbrella principle of the policies when we encourage the government acknowledge the person disability. Okay, if we all agree with this recommendation, we move to the last recommendation. Actually, this from Laura. So encourage to ASEAN Master Plan to strengthening the climate change issue concerning to person with disability. Actually, this is already in the Master Plan.
Yeah. But we have to recheck tomorrow.
Yeah. So the last is encouraging to ASEAN Master Plan strengthening climate change and social inclusion principle. And actually, there one more. Laura said that a willingness to member organization to be to include the climate change issue in the activities. I will confirm to Laura. Is it right that recommendation? Yes. Okay. So the willingness to member organization in ADF included the climate change issue in any activities and programs.
To engage with, because it's kind of, it is not only in Vietnam, but also in Indonesia. It happens also because of our lack of knowledge. So we don't think that it is important to talk relating to the climate issue. I think it is similar with what happened to others, that they do not really understand about the climate change, so that they just ignore.
Okay.
So we have to build the capacity and the information about the climate change. Then I believe that when we already understand about what is the issue inside of climate change, we will see and we will think that this is part of our issue as well.
Yeah, thank you, Ibu Maulani. So before we done with this discussion, I will ask Vika to read all of the recommendations because I cannot read from here. The 7 points of recommendation from our meeting. So do you mind, Vika?
Okay, this is a rough recommendation. Maybe we can make it more polished. So the first one, we consider the recommendation from Sang Lauro regarding the setting the person with disabilities protection and definition from CRPD. It's also included from the suggestion by Safira. So we want to put the person with disabilities as the subject or an actor and part of the community same as other peoples, and then respected the rights as the other as other peoples as well. And then policy on climate change in Southeast Asia countries should align with the CRPD as the basis of policy making. Thirdly, develop the understanding or knowledge of climate change issues for organization of persons with disabilities, because it's quite new for the OPDs. Include the MNE, monitoring and evaluation mechanism, to the development and implementation of climate change policy, especially for PWDs. And then encourage the UN or government to acknowledge persons with disabilities in terms of the rights and the needs of persons with disabilities as other people. The last one, we want to strengthen the ASEAN Enabling Master Plan, especially on the policy making process on climate change, to be inclusive for persons with disabilities in all ASEAN member states. I think that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Wika. So we still have a time to get input, or you have any idea or additional information from our recommendation. Please, we still have a time. From 1 until 7, is there any input from you? Or everything is done, or you still have a like? I'm afraid that when you back home, that you will thinking about the recommendation. It's not.
It is a proper.
It's a proper.
But I would like to
Lorraine, is that okay for the recommendation?
Yes, we will just email you and Maulana.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hong Ha, is there any additional information about the recommendation?
I don't have any more than the one you suggested. Yeah, so I just want to recommend the participation and the for people with disabilities in climate change. Yeah, and in all the aspects. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, thank you. So, Ms. Sariba, one by one I should to mention. Everything is okay. So how about Mr. Salzali? It's okay.
Okay. If possible, I would like to recommend ATF to at least plan to organize a talk or a workshop on climate change for people with disabilities on ASEAN level, so that we can include more people with disabilities, government officials and major agencies to be part of it, so that we can plan more future programs and activities for people with disabilities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Salzali. Mr. Hantu, do you have any additional information or input?
So I noted that experiences of cyclone Nugget in Myanmar. One thing is, make sure the data collection for development of effective approach, including disabled population in disaster affected area. One thing. Second thing, to make sure well-designed and inclusive policy affect the trigger climate change are most important for Myanmar, because we advise NATO action. So I can say a story to the baby to sleep immediately. So my point was 3 points. Okay.
Okay. So you mentioned about the data inclusion policy, and the last one is about Can you mention again?
The third one.
First one is make sure data collection. Data collection. Second thing, make sure design of the climate change policy and implementation program. Now start inclusive policy is very important.
Okay, thank you. Maybe some of that you mentioned can be a part of the encourage the UN or government acknowledge person with disabilities. Because when we talk about the data, if the government acknowledge the person with disability, they should be have the segregation data as well in terms of the climate change data. But we can also make separately from the recommendation. Maybe we can mention that.
We can elaborate in the
It's
foreign government knowledge.
Okay.
Knowledge.
Yeah. So we can elaborate some of recommendation talking about the data collection that you mentioned. Okay, next from Lau, maybe you can give the additional information.
Yes, for me, I think I totally agree with our friend from Vietnam that fully participation for person with disability. It means that like when they invite or they want us to join, so make sure that maybe we can mention that the reasonable accommodation should be provided because it's happened in our country. They invite person with disability, but they hold the meeting like in the second floor without the elevator like this, so it's very difficult. And then it means that it's not diverse for person with disability to join because only the physical can join, or person in wheelchair or person with other type of disability cannot join like this. So it's not fully participate without the reasonable accommodation.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So there are 2 points, reasonable accommodation and full participation, meaningful participation that should be a part of mentioning in our recommendation. Okay. So next from Monica.
From my point, I think we should add one line regarding to the allocate gender and disability responsive budgeting.
Budgeting.
Yeah, but this one is covered for all issues. We not highlight about the climate change or anything else, but it all the issues that relate to disability issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monica. So from Indonesia, Ibu Maulani, do you agree with the recommendation or any additional?
I totally agree because all of the content is about the strategy.
Okay, thank you for all of you that already give the input for our recommendation. I think this is very important to encourage our climate change policy from each country to impose for our government a social inclusion principle. So we have a homework and we have to hard working after we come back to our country. To maybe we can ask them to be a part of the policy making when we want to make like a COP. We have to prepare for the COP 20 times, and there will be make a NDC report as well. So that's why we encourage them to put the person with disability specifically in the NDC report. So this is very important because we'll be determining our program next about the climate change. So again, thank you so much for your, before closing, or Laura will say something, please.
I just want to remind everyone
Yes.
that in every effort, the most important aspect is money. So I think we have to remind our government and the United Nations of our every year resolution that budgeting should be inclusive. a disability budget inclusive financing. So I think we have to remind our UN and our government that since everything needs money to be implemented, that when we do the budgeting, it should include everything that we have agreed to present to government, to ASEAN, and to the United Nations. There must be a disability inclusive budgeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. So this is very important as well. We already know the gender budgeting, and Laura mentioned about the inclusion budgeting. It means that all of the policies in terms of climate change, that should be rethinking about the groups like a person with disability if we have the inclusion budgeting. So thank you so much again for your participation. After almost 6 hours, we discussed and very effective to get the input from all of you. And very respect from your input and suggestion. So I will give the mic and time to Ibu Maulani for the next activity. Ibu Maulani or Rika for the next activity. So the mic is yours.
So thank you very much for your very active participation, talking about our additional recommendations. This is really strategic because we are talking about the strategy on talking about the full participation of persons with disability into the climate change. If you can give me a permission, I would like to add one point relating to what we are talking about in the very beginning, that a lot of developed country open opportunity for supporting the budget support to the CSOs. CSOs running the issue of the climate change. But I don't know, but unfortunately in Indonesia they do not invite OPDs to talk about their support. From the country support, other countries support relating to the issue of the issue of the climate change. So since this period, the target of this developed country into ASEAN, I think we have to strengthen one of the recommendations relating to how they have to talk to OPDs on climate change. Yeah, that's all. So we will have our break until now it's 7 to 4. So we will have our break until the dinner will serve by what time? The dinner 6, yeah. The dinner will start by 6. You can access. You can enjoy the dinner by 6, and then at 7 p.m. We can assemble again. Hopefully, these 2 hours you can having full rest, so that in the evening we still have a lot of agenda. I'm trying to putting into orders which one is the most crucial for tonight, and hopefully it is not too long to decide anything relating to the internal issues. So thank you very much. Have a rest for the afternoon rest, and then see you in the 7 in the evening. Here, of course, here. Oh yeah, before leaving, sorry, I would like to introduce Daniel Awigra. Maybe some of you still remember him from our meetings drafting the ASEAN Enabling Master Plan. Maybe Daniel, can you give a brief, 1 or 2 minutes? What should be the steering committee read for tomorrow discussion?
Thank you, Ibu Maulani. Hi, everyone. Good evening, afternoon. Yeah, I'm so happy being involved again in this regional movement, advocating the right of persons with disability in the region. I know we met already like a few years back, especially prior to the COVID time. I see you now still healthy, so meaning that we survived from the COVID time. So and hopefully that tomorrow we will explore more. Especially we want to have an exercise to have a kind of joint recommendation to be brought up in the conference, ASEAN conference on the political security conference, on the 16th ASEAN political security conference. So I learned a lot from Pak Yosaf, my very old friends, about the climate and person with disability. So I'm sure that it is not the kind of first, time that we will later on can use that as a source also to be brought up in the tomorrow's exercise, join with the presentation and our own exercise with Ibu Dina Prapto, former ICHA. So I think that's all, and let's have a break and have a time to chit chat, mingle. I'm so happy. Looking forward to have a time with you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. And can we give applause for Yosa for today?
Yosa!
Thank you.
Apa kabar, bro? Of course, yeah.
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 Yeah. Do you want to bring Laura here?
Yes, we'll bring Laura here.
Much
and
better.
the PA is getting food.
Good.
And then, yeah, you
You
remember.
want of course
We
for
have
a long time.
like 3 years, right?
No,
No, 4,
4 years
5 years.
with MKM.
No, I get MKM, yeah.
Yeah.
But last time I did 2018.
Yes.
Oh my
You were
God.
with Kairunisa.
Kairunisa.
But she was still the legislative council member.
Now already?
No, she's finished now.
Already.
The time, yeah.
Time.
Yes, is the maximum.
So Rahwa, what's life?
There's a lot of
My life is yeah, not just just Brunei, but we have fun. Still recovering.
On the product side also.
Ando kameranya mana have
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, on the village, yeah. It was 2019, right? 19? Yeah. Before COVID exactly, so 2019. Oh my God, almost 5 years ago. I thought it was only a few years ago, a couple of years ago, but apparently we also find it. Thank you, yeah. Okay, thank you. It's connected already. It's hard too.
Getting bigger.
Really getting so big.
No, I'm talking about how we. Myself, I have 5 children.
Already.
Laura, would you like to sit?
Sit down.
Laura, like a chair.
Since I sit
We were thinking.
Move forward.
Yeah. So we can. Yes. About 5 more skills.
3, 4, 5, and then on your back there will be a
Okay,
chair.
you can now move your 6 o'clock. Oh,
No,
sorry.
Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, sorry.
It's hard too.
First is all steering committee. Second is with the
EA.
PA.
Oh, we're missing
Hard too.
Maybe
Ten.
Timers have.
on toilet maybe.
Oh yeah.
Cuma hilang.
Macam tadi.
Cannot sing.
Dia namanya hantu. Mari dicari.
Where's Yosa? Yosa, will you join? Come.
Come.
Okay, my problem. I don't care.
Maybe Miss Maulani dia Mama Monica? Iya, kurang tengah. Aja deh.
Berdiri aja apa gimana? Duduk aja.
Are we taking the note? Too much on one side.
Mika, come, Mika.
Ayo. Take photo first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You could start freestyle.
Yeah, freestyle. Singing poses, Frankie poses. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Take a video.
Thank you.
You want?
Maybe tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the staff would like to join.
Oh, no. Belum siap. Siap dia.
Inside.
Come.
Steven. In the major city.
Apa namanya?
Steven.
Melissa, come.
Ya, the PA.
Hey, what's up?
Mbak Febi.
Join.
Mbak Febi kayaknya sama ini mau join juga. Go.
Go. Join.
As the she should join also.
Ah, Ibu, join. Join us. Ibu, join us.
Foto itu.
Mbak Fe, come on.
Mbak Fe masuk.
Hey, come on. Oh, all of us. Come on. Yeah, except
don't mind like that.
Really?
Which one? Oh, the man.
Satu. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3.
Yay, thank you.